Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, where I dive into real-life stories from you all. Today, I'm sharing a heartfelt story about a man who seems to be in his 60s. He opened up about a devastating discovery after 35 years of what he believed was a solid marriage. Recently, he learned his wife wasn't as faithful as he thought. Before they tied the knot, she was secretly involved with his cousin for a whole year. This cousin was like a brother to me, my closest buddy. We'd hang out, play sports, and do all sorts of things together. My entire world crumbled when I found out about my wife and my cousin, who I trusted like family. Naturally, I'm planning to end the marriage. Who wouldn't? But I still wanted to share my story and ask if I'm making the right call, as if anyone would suggest staying with her. Let me tell you, folks, this just proves that secrets can't stay buried forever. No matter how deep someone hides the truth, it always finds a way to surface. That's why honesty is so important from the start. I've heard countless stories like this, where guys discover years into marriage that their wives were unfaithful during dating, or had past behaviors that would have been deal breakers. Some had lifestyles or histories that would shock their husbands, and it all comes out eventually. When these truths spill, people act innocent, claiming it was so long ago it shouldn't matter. But it does, because if someone could deceive you back then, they might still be doing it. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and without it, you can't stay with someone. You're absolutely justified in walking away, even if others judge you harshly for it. For 35 years, we've been the couple everyone envied, the so-called perfect pair. But I've learned the hard way that no couple is flawless, and it's breaking my heart to realize she's been putting on an act worthy of a Hollywood star. Here's what happened. About a week ago, my cousin, let's call him Tom, was rushed to the hospital with severe pain. Tests showed he had sepsis, with infections ravaging his body. They put him in an induced coma to treat it. He was out for 4 days, and I told my wife, who's a nurse. She explained that Tom's condition was life-threatening, and I should brace for the worst. She was visibly upset, knowing how close we were. We'd worked together, played sports, you name it. I'm not mocking the situation, but it's striking how often nurses or teachers pop up in stories like this, with surprising secrets. I kept in touch with Tom's mom daily, hearing no good news. On the 5th day, she called to say his vitals were improving, and they were bringing him out of the coma. I was overjoyed and shared the update with my wife. The next day, Tom called me, saying he felt like he'd been given a second chance at life. He vowed to right all his past wrongs. I wondered, what wrongs? He mentioned quitting drinking, gambling, and unhealthy habits. I encouraged him, hoping he'd stick to it. By the 7th day, things were looking up. Tom was home, though he still needed a walker to move around. I told my wife I was going to visit him. When I arrived, his girlfriend led me to their bedroom, where he was resting. He was thrilled to see me, and we talked about his promise to make the most of his new lease on life. A lot of people who face death make these kinds of vows. Some follow through, others don't. Then he grew serious, looking down, and asked his girlfriend to join us. He seemed so frail, like he might need to go back to the hospital. He said he hoped what he was about to share wouldn't change, how much he valued my support over the years. I was confused, thinking, what's he talking about? He thanked me for everything, loans, advice, and the time we lived together while he was in college. I always told my family that helping each other is what matters most, and I'd do anything to keep them from suffering. Then he looked at his girlfriend, then back at me, tears in his eyes. His voice was still rough from the hospital tube. He said, "Remember when I lived with you 35 years ago?" I nodded, saying, "Yeah, what about it?" Sobbing harder, he confessed that my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, was involved with him the entire year he lived with us. I was floored. This is the same wife I'd praised for 35 years as an amazing partner, mother, and half of our perfect marriage. I was stunned when my cousin apologized, and for a moment, everything around me seemed to freeze. My brain struggled to make sense of the bombshell he'd just dropped on me. His girlfriend, shocked, asked if it was true, and he admitted it was. I stood there, speechless, unable to find words. His girlfriend leaped up and slapped him hard across the face, not caring that he'd just gotten out of the hospital. She glared at me, her eyes saying, "I heard him, and I know you did too." My mind raced back over 30 years, trying to picture how this betrayal could have happened. He was rambling about needing my forgiveness, but I couldn't hear him. Forgiveness? He'd need more than that. He'd need protection, because once he's healed, I'm ready to confront him. My wife's actions were awful, and my cousin's betrayal stings even worse since he was like my brother, my best pal. It's hard to say who's more at fault, my wife, who I built a life with for over 3 decades, or my cousin, who I trusted like family. My head was spinning with questions. How could my wife hide this for so long? She married me, knowing she'd been unfaithful with my cousin for a year. Did she stop after he moved out? Are my kids even mine? And who else might she have been with? Her being a nurse doesn't help, given the stereotypes about certain behaviors in that field. This marriage is over. There's no turning back. I left my cousin's house without saying a word, got in my car, and just drove, no destination in mind. My thoughts were a mess, swinging from ending it all to wanting revenge. I know that sounds dark, and I'd never act on it, but the pain was overwhelming. I've never felt this kind of betrayal, but I know I can't let it destroy me. My whole 35-year marriage feels like a lie now. I'm 63, and I need paternity tests, lawyers, and probably a therapist to sort this out. Starting over at this stage of life feels impossible. I can't stay with her, but how do I deal with my wife, my kids, and my cousin, who I'll never forgive, no matter how much he begs? I've always said infidelity is a deal breaker, and I meant it. Ironically, my wife once said the same thing. Can you believe her nerve? I called the bank right away to start moving our joint account to a separate one. I need to protect my finances for what's coming after 35 years of marriage. I went home to be alone with my thoughts. My kids are away at college, and I didn't want to worry them yet, especially since I'm questioning if they're even mine. I stayed out late, and when my wife noticed I wasn't home, she started blowing up my phone with calls and texts. I turned it off, letting her panic. I figured her next move would be to call my cousin to check on me, and if he told her about his confession, she'd know I knew before I got home. I was sure he'd spill the beans. I let her stew until past midnight. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw my sister-in-law's car. She'd called in her support team. I braced myself, summoning every ounce of strength, and walked inside. There was my wife, sitting on the couch, a suitcase on the floor beside her. She knew she was caught. Over the years, my in-laws had judged me, calling my humor crude or inappropriate. I wonder what they'd say about their daughter now. As I stepped inside, my sister-in-law started to speak. But I cut her off, telling her to be quiet and leave. My wife was sobbing, clearly trying to soften me up. I just shook my head, saying nothing. She asked if I wanted her explanation. What could she possibly say to justify cheating on me for a year before we married, keeping it secret all this time, and who knows what else? I told her any explanation would just be a confession, and I'd already heard one today. I was done playing priest. Her sister begged me to listen, but I told her to get out or wait in the car, because my wife was about to join her. I decided to let my wife speak before I ended things for good. She admitted she always knew I'd find out someday, but not like this. 35 years, and she never told me because she knew I wouldn't have married her. Why didn't she end up with my cousin? Probably because he wasn't the marrying type. I stared at her, my anger and disgust growing with every second. She said the attraction between them was instant, like they were pulled together by some unstoppable force. Her first time with him happened while I was at work. It was quick and intense. They knew it was wrong but couldn't stop. Afterward, she felt no guilt, which shocked me. They kept it up whenever they could, always at our place. So, my wife was trying to explain herself, or maybe she was just laying out the truth of what went down. I wondered what made it stop. When my cousin moved out, the emotional connection and physical thrill they shared were tough to recreate. They tried to keep it going, but it was too hard with him living so far away. She decided then to shift her focus to me, believing I could offer her a stable, better life. It hit me hard. She chose me because I was the reliable one, while my cousin wasn't the type to settle down. After having her fun, She saw me as the safe bet. What stung even more was that I kept hanging out with my cousin, Tom, all those years. Our bond stayed tight, like nothing had ever happened. He played the part of my best friend for over 30 years, acting as convincingly as my wife did. Once he's fully recovered, I can't help but feel he deserves a serious confrontation for this betrayal. For 30 years, he pretended to be my loyal buddy. How can I trust that their affair truly ended? She still saw him occasionally, and who's to say there wasn't someone else? This revelation hit me like a ton of bricks, harder than anything I'd ever faced. I was her fallback, the steady guy she could count on. The kicker? She was incredibly attentive to me back then, and now I realize it was to keep me from suspecting anything. For a whole year, she was covering her tracks with affection to throw me off. As a nurse, she had plenty of opportunities, and that only deepened my doubts. When I heard all this, I felt so sick I rushed to the living room and threw up on the floor. I almost wish I'd aimed at her to make a point. All those years, wasted on a lie. I asked how she could be so heartless, hiding this for decades. She claimed she pushed it out of her mind, pretending it never happened. That's exactly what she did, buried it deep. We weren't married yet, but it kills me to think she might have shared things with him she never did with me. I can still picture us together while Tom was just down the hall in his room, and she wasn't exactly discreet. Was that part of their thrill? The thought makes me nauseous again. Standing in our house, I was at a loss for what to do. Part of me knows what needs to happen, but it's complicated. Sure, it happened before we were married, but we were committed. The woman I married, the one I fell in love with, doesn't exist. She's been deceiving me for years. I long for who I thought she was, but I despise who she really is. I'm torn about what to do next. I haven't reached out to a lawyer yet, but I plan to soon. I'd love to hear your thoughts, or your viewers' advice. Should I stay or walk away? If you share this, I'll take all the feedback to heart. My gut says end it. You'd probably agree I have every right to. But here's the catch. I'll likely be painted as the villain. 30 years ago, she was secretly involved with my cousin for a year and never told me. It seems she only stopped because he moved away, and I was the dependable choice. When I proposed, she stayed silent, knowing I'd have ended things if I knew. She accepted my proposal, married me, and kept it hidden all this time. I've seen too much to believe her behavior changed completely. My cousin's out of my life for good. That's a given, but he's got a reckoning coming. My wife may have been wonderful since then, a great mom and all, but it doesn't erase the betrayal. The biggest issue, and I hate to say it, is I can't be sure my kids are mine. I struggle to believe she stopped her deceptive ways. She's not who I thought, and that's the worst part. If I end this, and I'm leaning that way, everyone will blame me. Friends, family, even my kids might buy her tears, saying, "It was 30 years ago. She's been a great wife and mom." They'll call me the bad guy, even though she's the one who lied. My kids might side with her, assuming they're mine. I've got a lot of soul-searching ahead, but I don't see how I can stay with her. Most people, friends, family, my kids, will urge me to forgive her, saying she's sorry, and it's ancient history. But I'd be miserable. I've heard too many stories of guys who forgave their crying wives for the sake of kids or to avoid divorce, only to regret it. They felt sick staying with someone who betrayed them, especially when they were too old to start over. At 63, I'm not young, but I'm not done either. Ending it will hurt, financially and emotionally. I don't know my state's laws or if I have a prenup, but I doubt it. I'll take a hit, but it's better than staying in a lie. My kids are adults, so no custody or child support issues, but I'll still have to navigate their reactions. Men don't need much to be happy, just the basics, not the big houses, fancy cars, or country club life, some chase. I might feel like my world's flipped upside down, losing my wife and my cousin, but guys are tougher than you think. I've heard stories of men who bounce back after late life divorces, and I know I can too. I'll never trust her again, and I'll always picture her betrayal. I need to see a lawyer ASAP to explore my options and take it one day at a time. I've got to control the narrative, or she'll spin it to make me look worse. It's going to be a long, tough road, but I'll get through it. Staying with her would be misery. I'd never move past this. Even if she's been a model wife since, I doubt it's the full truth. I can't see myself getting over this. Not after all the stories I've heard, and people I've known, in similar messes. I'm bracing for everyone to guilt-trip me, saying I'm throwing away 30 years over something she's sorry for. But I know most of you out there will back me up, even if some say I should let it go. It's going to be brutal. My whole life's been with her, and unraveling that is heartbreaking. I've been living a lie, and it's crushing, but I can't give up. I've got my kids and other joys in life to keep me going. If I stay, I'll just part ways later anyway. It's inevitable. This is a gut-wrenching situation, and I'm so sorry it's my reality, but that's where I stand. I'd love for you all to share your thoughts. Drop a comment, and let me know what you do. I'm pretty sure most of you will agree with me, but I need to hear it to stay strong. I'll take it one step at a time, starting with a lawyer to map out my options. I'm ready for the backlash from everyone in my life, but I didn't do anything wrong. I thought I did everything right, and this is what I get. So that's my story. If you've got advice, hit me up in the comments. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you all next time.